Yo, what is going on, guys? It is 7:36 on a Thursday night, and we are officially live, ladies and gentlemen. So it's not whatever it is, for whatever reason, OBS never loads like the actual panel with the chat and with the viewers. So I can't tell if you guys are typing anything, if you guys can see anything. But it should load the comments, so it should load the comments. So if you guys can see me and hear me, it worked last week. If you guys can see me and hear me, do me a favor and just type something in the chat. Type a 1, type a 2, a 3, or a 4, or whatever it is. And I should be able to get it. We'll see if you guys are able to see me and hear me. But while you guys do that, I'm going to assume you guys can see me and hear me. Cool. Lit. Awesome. Yeah, I got one comment. Hey, Cam, what's up, bro? So what we're going to be covering in today's call, right? So tomorrow is a very important day in the market. It happens once a month, right? And it's something that can make you have the best trades of your life or get you smacked to stop loss very fast, right? So tomorrow is what's known as NFP, right? This entire week is majorly known as NFP week. But tomorrow, the first Friday of every single month, is known as NFP, right? And the reason why is because a high impact news release is dropped every first Friday of the month, right? It's not a specific day, but it's the specific timing of it. Every first Friday, whether it could be the first, it could be the second. Tomorrow, for example, it's going to be the 8th. So it's not like the first week of the month. It's the first Friday of the month. But what NFP is, it stands for non-farm payroll, okay? And I have a whole long video about this inside of Cashflow University, which I'll show you guys in a minute. But what we're going to be covering today is we're going to look up some pre-predictions about what we could expect for tomorrow. And we're going to look at the market and kind of break it down and see if we can maybe time our entry and time our analysis for tonight. That way tomorrow morning, I'm going to be streaming tomorrow morning as well inside of the Cashflow campus for students only. So I'm going to be streaming that. But we're going to maybe analyze the market tonight. Hopefully we find our setup tonight and maybe get a pending order going, or at least, get the setup going for tomorrow morning. So your responsibility throughout the call is, if you have any questions throughout any part of the process, just do me a favor and write your questions in the chat for me. That way you guys can, 1, not be confused, 2, get your questions answered, and 3, improve your speed of becoming a profitable trader. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what it's all about. So we're going to go ahead and get right into it. I'm going to start off with this. I'm going to make myself a little bit smaller. MetaWubs. Yo, what is up, bro? I'm glad to see you on here, man. That is another new student. And so if anything is confusing to you or any of the other viewers, bro, like I was just saying, just type your question in the chat, man, and I'll answer it for you. NFP is a little bit advanced for where you're at in your journey, but it's still something that you should be aware of, and you still can get really high profitable trades on that. So what we're going to do first is I'm going to show you guys where to find the in-depth training about NFP, right? So if you are a Cashflow student and you're inside Cashflow University, meaning that you're a paid student, right, you have access to our entire curriculum, and I will show you that now. So we're going to go ahead. Hold on one second. Who is this? Someone's calling me. Whatever. So this is what Cashflow University is. Okay, let me make myself a little bit smaller so you guys can see everything. Okay, so if you guys go down to this course where it says Fundamental Data Mastery, we're going to go ahead and open that up, right? Once that loads, you're going to see 4 different categories pretty much, right? Welcome to Fundamental Data, Understanding Market Dynamics, Understanding Fundamental Data, and tying it all together. All right, so the first chapter is an overview, right? The second chapter goes over the basics, right, of understanding how fundamental data works. But when we go to understanding fundamental data, right, there's one video here that says NFP and unemployment, okay? So this is a in-depth training about what NFP is, how it works, how it affects the market, and how you can prepare yourself ahead of time. That way you can actually maximize your profits if you do have a winning trade on NFP. And if you lose your trade on NFP, you're minimizing your loss as much as possible, right? So typically when you're trading, usually you're going for a 2-to-1 or a 3-to-1 risk to reward ratio, meaning if you're going to risk $10, you're aiming to make $20 to $30, right? If you're risking $100, you're aiming to make $200 to $300. That's the standard for Forex trading, okay? During NFP, though, you have the ability to get way bigger positions, okay? So instead of only getting a 2 or a 3-to-1, you can honestly very easily get a 5-to-1 or a 7-to-1, or depending on how you position your entries, even a 10-to-1 entry. So if you were to risk $100, you can make anywhere between $500 to $1,000 compared to 2 to 300, okay? So you get a huge difference in your profit margins, pretty much. On NFP, and basically on any red folder, on any high impact news release, you can get these big moves, but NFP is the most anticipated one, and it's the one that gets the biggest moves, period. So we'll pull up a chart in a little bit and I'll show you. But this is an 18-minute training, and I'm not going to go as in depth today as I am in this video, but if you guys are a Cashflow student, I would recommend, if you want to jump around a little bit and just get some additional knowledge, you can go skip to this video and watch NFP for tomorrow. So I go fully in depth into what it is, like I said, how it works, and how to just get prepared for it, pretty much. So you guys can go watch that at your own time. And if you are not in Cashflow University and you want to get access to this link or to this video, let me know and I'll send you a link to watch this specific video. And if you want to join the entire university, let me know and I will help you get started with the university. Okay. So again, if you are a Cashflow student, that is inside of Fundamental Data Mastery, which is right here. It says how to trade the news. Okay. So with that, let me do this. Let me go back to communities. What I'm going to do really quick is, let me make sure this thing posted. Yeah, it did. Okay, cool. Sweet. If you guys are in the Cashflow app, do me a favor and just go into the Cashflow app whenever you get the chance and tell people to hop on. Just make a post saying, hey guys, we're live, get on the call, etc., etc. It goes a long way, believe it or not. You know, some people don't always see my notifications, but if they see other people posting, they would consider maybe joining. You know what I mean? So the whole point of these calls is to teach as many people as much as possible, right? So yes, I love it when it's smaller and it's more intimate, but also I would also love it if we had more people on here. That way more people can learn how to make money and potentially leave their job in the next couple of months to the next couple of years, right? The economy's only getting worse, and we can't afford to be selfish, guys, right? So we need to share the knowledge. We need to share the love. All right, so now that we have that out of the way, we're going to open up TradingView, and we are also going to open up, we'll open up that in a second. So while that loads. Okay, so these past few weeks have been very slow, right? I haven't been posting that many trade setups, and the ones that I am posting, they're very sporadic entries for the last couple months. Not couple months, like last few weeks, I'd say. We had a beautiful trade that I sent out, I think it was on Monday, and it took so long to hit, though. It took like 2 days for the trade. Didn't actually happen until yesterday, though, but I sent it out on Monday. And there's been like little micro movements, but let's just look here, for example. This was Monday. Okay, we were sending the trade idea around here, and the entire week, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we consolidated and we just built buying pressure, right? So the market's just been moving very slow. Everything going on with Iran, everything going on with oil, and just, you know, now the Fed's out. You know, Jerome Powell just actually, he didn't retire, but he stepped down from his seat as chairman of the Fed, and I forgot who their appoints, Kevin something, I'm pretty sure is a new one. But so Jerome Powell, he's still going to be on the board of chairman, but he's not going to be like the chairman himself. So he's still going to be a part of the Fed, but his term ended. I didn't even know that there were terms. So I guess the Fed chairman can only be in office for, I think, 4 years, like 2 4-year terms, the same thing as the president. And Jerome Powell's terms ended, so he can't be the chairman anymore. So for those of you guys that don't know who Jerome Powell is or what the Fed is, Jerome Powell is basically the person that dictates the interest rates of the dollar, which for those of you guys that don't know what that means, you'll learn that in the university. But basically what that means is it dictates the strength of the dollar. So what Jerome Powell talks about, he talks about it 6 times a year. So the chairman has a meeting 6 times a year, pretty much 6 or 8 times a year. I forgot what it is. where they get together and they discuss the monetary policy, pretty much. How much are we lending the dollar out at, and what are we getting in return for the dollar? So it dictates the value of the dollar, and that's important to us as traders, whether you're trading stocks, futures, forex, crypto, whatever it is, because the value of the dollar, the US dollar, pretty much moves the entire market in retrospect, right? So if the dollar is gaining or losing strength, other pairs like the yen, like the pound, like the Aussie, whatever it is, are going to be gaining and losing strength accordingly because of what's happening here. Okay, so what happened is Jerome Powell just left office, he just left his chair, and he just got replaced. So that's also causing a little bit of stagnancy in the market. It's causing a little bit of uncertainty because people are waiting for the next open market committee meeting, which I don't even know what that is, when it is. We'll look that up in a second. But whenever that meeting comes out, that's going to be the first meeting of the new chairman, and we're going to find out his perspective on the market, right? Is he bullish on the market? Is he bearish on the market? Is he looking to increase interest rates? Is he looking to cut interest rates? Or is he looking to maintain it, right? And again, I'm not going to go into like a whole training about that right now because that'll take forever. But I do have a bunch of previously posted videos in my previous live streams and on inside the university. So I have a ton of educational content about how interest rates work itself. But to sum up what I'm saying is the market's been moving a little bit slow because of a lot of different factors, right? The war, stuff outside of the U.S., and also stuff internally here inside the U.S., right? There was an attempted assassination the other day. You know what I mean? That happened at the White House. That all that stuff causes fear and uncertainty and doubt in the market, and that leads to more sporadic movement where you can still predict your entries, but it's a little bit more difficult, for lack of better words, okay? So this was a great setup that we took. I'm going to explain this really quick. I'm going to spend maybe 5 to 10 minutes explaining the trade setup, how we took it, why we took it, and why it was a profitable trade. And then what I'm going to do after that is I'm going to pull up stuff about NFP, and we'll make our predictions for tomorrow morning, pretty much, right? So originally, when we took the entry, it was way over here. Like I had said, I think we got in, honestly, I want to say probably over here, right? Yeah, we'll just say we got in, because I know we went into drawdown like as soon as we got in. So what we had to do, so originally it was a 15 pip stop loss, right? And that's usually how I like to stick to my trades, is making just a 15 pip stop loss and aiming for 30 to 45 pips, right? But when you are trading in times of confusion or uncertainty, like I said, when you have experience, it is okay for you to make adjustments if you really feel confident in what you're doing. All right, and so I'll explain that a little bit more, okay? So, let me do that and do this, okay? So there were a few reasons why we took the trade initially, okay? Start a new one. All right, we'll put our starting period right there. All right, so this is what we saw Monday morning. Okay, Monday morning whenever we sent the trade out, right? For a few different reasons. I'm going to list out the confirmations, and if you guys have questions about them, let me know. I'm not going to go super slow, but I'm going to go detailed enough to where it should make sense and you guys should understand. Okay, let me delete that. All right, so first thing we're going to look at, right, is where is price at, right? So if we look right here, all right, we notice a couple things already, right? We're just going to look at basic market structure first, just to begin with everything, right? So we have a high, followed by a low, high, low, high, low, high, and now here, this is the first shift that we noticed, okay? Now, instead of making a lower low, which would have been down here, we made a higher low, which was up here. And then what happened next is we made a higher high over here. All right, so what that means is that we are getting a change of character, right? We're getting something known as a market shift, right? Does that mean it's happening right now? No. But what that means is that we can start expecting the market to maybe start making a U-turn, okay? So that's just the first thing that we see. Whenever you get on the computer, I literally just saw, okay, well, we have new market structure forming, okay? So instead of going down, we're going to maybe start going up. We can look for a new high, look for a higher low, and look for a new direction of the market. Okay, so that would be confirmation number one, right? So number one, right? Confirmation number one would be higher low. All right, confirmation number one. Number two is we just want to look at, okay, now that we are experiencing a market shift, right? The second thing we want to look at is where is price at? What is the price of the currency that we're trading right now? So I always trade Euro USD or USD CHF, but I like Euro USD more. So for Euro USD, right, we're going to take our crosshair and we're going to look at what is the price at, right? So if you look to the right and you see the gray little box, that says 1.17001. Okay, now if we want to just round that number, that says 1.17000. Okay, meaning that, and I had a bunch of advanced trainings about this. This information is inside Phase 3 of Cashflow University. To sum it up, though, we are directly at a whole number zone, right? 7,000 would be known as a whole number because there's a lot of zeros. It's very simple. It's that simple. Literally, if you see a lot of zeros, it means there's a whole number, okay? So it is a whole number. When you have a whole number, that is known as a psychological zone, right? When there's a psychological zone, what usually happens is the market is either going to aggressively move away from it or aggressively break past it, right? So what that means, right, is if we were to draw a box around the 7,000 zone, right, what I'm saying is that whenever we get near a whole number, that usually means that the market is coming and it's going to hit that zone and have a big move to the upside, or it's going to hit that zone and it's going to break past it very aggressively to the downside, okay? So those are the only two things that are going to happen when you get to a whole number zone. You're going to build pressure and you're going to break up, or you're going to break down, right? You're not ever going to have any sort of slow, gradual movements outside of a whole number zone, right? So that's a second confirmation that we are near an active area, right? Now that we are looking towards the bottom, right, and we are getting a higher low, that means that if we put the box back, what is more likely to happen, right? If we're going down and then we are now we're starting to see a market shift and we're heading near the whole number zone, and I said only two things happen, what is more likely going to happen, right? You guys can type it in the chat if you want, but I'm going to answer it anyways, right? What is more likely to happen is that when you enter this area, exactly, right, you're going to go up. That is the more likely thing to happen. Is it 100%? No, but it is more likely to happen that we are going to go up. Okay, so now that we understand that, we have our second confirmation, right? So we're just going to put, we're going to put whole, and we're going to make a number sign, right? So we have a whole number. Excuse me. Right, so we have two confirmations now, right? And these are two pretty okay confirmations, right? Are they the best? No, but whole number is a great confirmation, right? But higher low, that isn't really enough to give us market certainty, right? To give us confirmation of an entry yet. That's not enough. Okay, so right now we're looking at the 15-minute time frame, or at the 5-minute time frame. Right, let's go up to the 15, right? And let's just look, right? Let's see how price has reacted when we've gotten near this point, right? Now, if we go look, right, we're just going to go back to here. Supported, supported, not really too much anything there. Supported, supported. We broke past what we supported. Consolidation, consolidation, and here's where we are now. Okay, so it is showing that it is a valid sign, right? So this would be us correcting, or not correcting ourselves, but solidifying support and resistance and trend, right? So that's saying that, okay, well, this is a valid support level, right? It's not like we're just making it up. It's a valid support level that has shown market history as valid, okay? But what we need to pay attention to is the strength of this level, right? So what we can see is it did have good reactions where it bounced up, but there were also a lot of times where we broke below it for a little bit of time, right? Where we broke below it for a little bit of time, where we broke below it for a little bit of time. Here we just broke below in general, and, you know, we traded back above. But it's not always going to react perfectly, okay? So we just have to keep that as a rule of thumb. So our third confirmation would just be SRT, right? That's going to be basic support, resistance, and trend, right? So we're going to go write that down here, and then we're going to go back to the 15-minute after, right? 3 is SRT, right? So far we have 3 confirmations. 3 confirmations is not enough to take a trade with confidence, okay? But we're getting an idea of a bias. We're getting an idea of what we think is maybe going to happen, okay? So again, we'll go back to the 15, and we'll see if we can see anything else of prevalence, right? So we're going to mark up our trend here. I like using the 15-minute for trend. Here we see our downtrend forming, or our downtrend that has already been formed, right? And we can draw that at 2 different places. We'll put one line there, and then we'll put one in the middle, just so we have our channel, right? And how do we tell if it's accurate or not, right? Let's just look. We just draw, right? We have our bottom, top. The bottom came, went straight to the top. The middle line served as middle resistance, right? What happened? We went back to the top, middle. We went to the bottom, the top, and right now we are floating at the middle, okay? So this isn't any sort of confirmation, but we're just getting our trend in general. We're getting our direction, all right? So understanding that, right, we had a couple different things to be aware of, right, on why not to buy immediately, right? Because this could do one of 2 things. We could bounce off of this middle line and go higher, or we could go lower until we hit the bottom trend, and then we go higher, right? So we have an entry anywhere in between this area, which is a big area. If we were to measure that in pips, let's see what the zone is. That's a trade on its own. That's a 25 pip zone. Let me do this. My computer went on night mode. 1 second, guys. Un segundo, por favor. Okay, display. Okay, much better. Okay. So here we were. So we're getting just an idea about the trend, how far we are, where we're at, etc. Okay, so this is where we're at, right? Now, if we were to look, let me see, what is this comment? Pip zone is crazy low key. Hey, like how you have the zone, like where it reacts off of. That way I understand. Or did I say something about the pip, or did I show something on my screen about a pip zone? I don't know. Or are you talking about like how the zone in between the whole number zone? For clarification, to my boy Cam. Right. So what we'll do now, yeah. So to continue on while you type that out, bro, is if we're gonna look closer on the 15-minute, right? Confirmation number 3 or number 4 on what we can look at. Slight confirmation, but it is a confirmation still, right? Is yeah, for the entry point. Yeah, exactly. But it makes it a lot better. But when you have a space that fucking big, you know, it's you have to narrow it down a lot more, you know. So whenever you're in this situation, though, what we can do is we can zoom in, and now we're going to analyze the individual candles, right? The only thing that's worth looking at, honestly, right, is 1, this blue candle here, right? And 2 are these wicks here, right? The blue candle, only important because someone could classify that as a bullish engulfing candle, which is a bullish sign. It means that the market could go up, right? But then more importantly, what these candles represent here, the candlesticks, the wicks represent indecision, right? And the wicks represent momentum shift, right? So these are known as a doji candle, right? And if you want to be more specific, this could be, it's a little hard for me to show you. This one right here could be considered, there's different ones. I don't know if that'd be considered, if it's white, it's a hanging man. If it's blue, it's a hammer, one of them. But it means the same fucking thing. It means that the market's basically going to reverse, pretty much, right? It means that there was buyers. It means that there were sellers attempting to push the price down, and then buyers were buying the price back up. And that's what forms the wick of the body of that candle. So this would be the price action that happened. Price attempted to go down, but we got pushed back up. And then this would be where the actual trade ended of this candle, right? So this 15-minute period of time, people try to push price down, but instead we pushed higher. Okay, so doji candles are a sign that the market is potentially going to be reversing. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to come right here. We're going to put doji. Right, and you don't need to get like into specifics. What kind of doji is it? You know, unless you really are on that. You know what I mean? And you're going through like the candlestick trading Bible, etc. There's probably not a reason for you to, you know, really do that, right? A doji is a doji. Means that, you know, if you know the market's going down and you're seeing a doji, that means the market's going to go up. If the market's going up and you see a doji or a formation of dojis, that usually means the market is going to go down. Okay, it's pretty opposite. Once you see them, you see them. You know, it's not rocket science, right? What else do we got here? Right now, we'll start adding on some indicators. For basic price action, I would say that's kind of all you can see, right? If you want to identify further liquidity points, right, we can go to the hour, right? Did I do this that morning, though? No. But let's see what happens if we do it, right? Going to the hour time frame, we get another further confirmation right here. Right, we take a rectangle, we see this big blue candle, right? That means that there's a liquidity candle here, right? Meaning that there's a lot of money being pumped into the market at that specific point in time, right? So right here, that lines up perfectly with our whole number zone already. And I'd put it like right there, more or less, that this would be the liquidity, right? From this point to this point of this blue candle, that's where all that buying pressure came in, right? And if we want to scooch that back a little bit farther, right, that just gives us, again, further isolation of our zone, okay? So, still a little bit big, but we have our zone, right? So, now we can just confirm that there is a demand zone here. The reason why it's a demand zone is because it's acting as support, right? And demand means buy, supply means sell, right? So, that's that. So, I'm not going to mark this as a confirmation because we already have SRT, but it's just an additional confirmation, okay, well, our SRT is correct because it's a supply zone. It's a support zone. It's a whole number zone. And that also lines up with a liquidity / supply area / demand area. So I'm just going to keep that as for confirmation, right? So that's on the hour. I don't usually like analyzing more than the hour time frame just because of the length of time I'm in a trade. Sometimes I need to hold my trades for a couple days, but typically I don't like to. So I don't like to analyze, you know, like the 4 hour or the 8 hour. It's important still to get like overall market direction, you know, for sake of the example, if we were to go to the 4 hour time frame, let's see what we're seeing here. Consolidation, you know what I mean? So that kind of just gives you a little bit more confusion, you know what I mean? That's saying that we're just trading in this entire zone, which isn't really relevant and more confusing as well because we're getting higher highs and lower lows. So it's like a expanding pattern instead of an isolating pattern. Anytime the market does this shape where it's getting bigger, like the candles are going like this, it's very hard to tell which way is gaining power versus if the market is going like this, where the candles are getting shrunken in on each other, right? It's a lot easier to predict this than it is to predict an open expanding. It's always easier to predict a contracting move because it's building pressure and then it's going to explode to one side, right? So for example, here, right, for this here, if we were trading this, right, it's a lot easier to identify a setup, right? Are we going to break right there and retest? Are we going to go right here and retest? Versus this, there's really nothing to go by. It's like expanding, right? There's no control at that current moment. And there's no control here either, but it's easier to isolate it because you're building pressure to one point instead of pressure expanding. You know what I mean? Excuse me. Hey, when you're talking, bro, when you're talking to you, your mouth gets a little dry. So don't laugh at me. Okay? But, So yeah, so I don't really like going to the 4 hour for those reasons. You know, if we're scalpers, we're intraday traders. I think that the 1 hour is more appropriate, for lack of better words. Okay, so we have those confirmations. Now what we're gonna start doing is our additional layers. Okay, so we're gonna add on our indicators, right? And for those of you guys that say indicators are not good or not fun, they're made to make your life easier, bro. They're made to make your life easier. But you see how we didn't start with them, right? You don't start with the indicators because that's how you can kind of mess up your analysis. You always need to start with price, right? You always need to start with what price is doing. And first thing you need to check if there's news. I checked this morning, or I checked that morning. It was a bank holiday for GBP, and there is nothing relevant. There is only yellow folders. So you always start with checking the news, right? Fundamental first, then you go to price action, which is technical data. You know, you look at what price is doing, look at what the chart's doing, get your price action, and then you add on your indicators as the additional final layer of confirmation, okay? So, we're over here. We're going to use our handy-dandy vertical tool. Boom. We're going to put it right there, right? So this is what we're looking at, okay? So we're going to look at our oscillators first. We have our RSI and our stochastic, the settings for them. I'm not going to go over right now, but if you're a cash flow student, you should know the settings. And if you haven't watched those videos yet, don't worry. You'll learn the settings when you get to those videos, okay? So we're going to start here. So basically what we're looking for is for this line to get below the blue line, and then we're going to ride it on the way back up, right? We're going to ride it on the way back up. Because we are not there yet, this is a premature entry, right? What this means is that the market can probably go down first. Go down first. Like I had already mentioned, we are in a zone of reaction, but we could go down to the middle Bollinger line. I'm not Bollinger Band. The middle trend line, or we could move all the way back down to the bottom trend line, like I mentioned, and then go up, right? So that's an option, right? At this point in time, on the 15-minute time frame, the RSI and the stochastic are implying down. Okay, so no bueno, right? So we can't use that as a confirmation, right? If we want to go to the hour, let's see what the hour is saying. Same thing. We're pushing down still, right? If we go to the 5-minute, now we get a little bit, right, of some confidence, okay? We're seeing that this one, right, the RSI is starting to push up a little bit already, okay, potentially, right? And but the stochastic, do I have these mixed up? I'm sorry, yeah, I was like, no. The stochastic is starting to look like it's going up, but the RSI is starting to point up, but not really in a best position yet, okay? So maybe we could consider the stochastic, and we'll give that half a confirmation, half a point. So far, we have 4 points for entries, for confirmations. 4 confirmations, 4 points, right? RSI is going to be 0. Stochastic can be half a point. So we have 4.5 points right now for our entry, okay? Same thing with the doji candles. Even a closer look, right? We can call that a spinning top, whatever you want. But we're getting more confirmation about our doji pressure, right? That the doji candles are showing market shift, right? And buying pressure forming. So that's a good sign that we're going to go up. Okay. Next thing, let's close those out. Let's go back to the 15-minute. Next indicator we're going to add on, right, is going to be, let me just put this right here. I just want to move it to where I can show you guys better. Oh, well, let's go add our 5th little. We'll call it confirmation number 5, but we'll put Stoke, and we're gonna do 0.5 since it's only half a confirmation. Okay. Boom. So far we have 4.5 confirmations, right? Now we're gonna go back. We're gonna add on our next tool just to see, right, if it's relevant. Right, we're gonna go on here. We have our Bollinger Bands, right, that are showing we're starting to build a little bit of pressure. Let's look at the hour. Here it says that we're trading below this yellow line. This is the 50 EMA line or 200 EMA. I have it on. We're trading below that, meaning that we're still going down, is what that means. If you're trading below it, it means you're going down, right? If you're trading above it, it means you're going up in an uptrend. Okay, so it still looks like we have to go down a little bit. 15-minute, same thing, right? What's happening though is, and I have a video explaining this in the course as well, is anytime the market gets too far away from that yellow line, it needs to come back and touch it again, right? Since we haven't touched it yet, we're only down here. We came up and we came down to here, right? What this is telling me is that the market eventually needs to come and meet that yellow line, right? And I'll show you guys some examples of that really quick in a second. But it needs to happen, right? It's going to happen, right? It's going to happen, right? It's not a question of if it's going to happen. It's a question of when it is going to happen. Anytime the market gets too far away from your EMA line, the market is going to return and touch that EMA line. Okay, it's going to happen, right? Whatever setting you put it on, right? 50 to 200 is the best. But I use 200 for this example. That's how I like to use it. I think it's a little bit more prevalent than the 50. But anytime it is far away from that EMA line, it is going to come back and touch it, right? So I'll show you guys that in a second. So I'll consider that half a confirmation because we're still trading below it though. So it's still telling us we're going down, but because of how far away we are from it, we can expect it to act as a magnet for the time being. So an additional half point is what I would give that. On the 15-minute, let's see what the 5-minute says. Same thing. You see we're getting closer to it. We almost got there, but we never did. So we haven't restored price yet. Okay, so price still needs to come back and touch it, more or less. Let me remove these. And now, let's go. So that was the 5-minute. We're getting a blue check mark. That means buys, but that's very irrelevant. So we'll just add 1 point in general for this. Right, so we'll just add 1 full point for this one. So this will be confirmation number 6. We're just going to put B for Bollinger Bands. All right. Last 2 indicators we're going to use that I like to use personally. Next one we're going to do is this. This is going to help us identify our supply and demand levels a lot more. So let me go to the hour time frame first. Let's adjust. Okay, so this is saying here pretty much nothing. This will be useless on this time frame. We had to break a structure to the downside. That's just saying we're going to go down. But there's no demand area that this is saying here. So that's not relevant. 15-minute. 15-minute is saying that there is a demand area nearby, near where we're at, right? Near where we're at. So this would be further confirmation to the negative bias, where I'm saying we still probably could go down. That's what this would be leaning towards, saying that we still could go down because the demand area is down here, okay? Which lines up with if the market is moving, right? It's gonna line up right around here, more or less. Okay, so remember this little area. I'm gonna keep this circle here. That way we can reference that easier. We're gonna put it right there. Okay. 5-minute time frame. Let's see what the 5-minute has to show us, if anything. Right, this is showing another demand area right in between here. So we'll adjust this circle to right there, right in between both of them. Right, so that's that one. Last indicator we're going to use. This one is used for identifying the strength of your highs and lows, okay, and showing you market structure and break a structure and change a characteristic. So this is on the 15th. Let's go to the hour. Our time frame says that this is a strong low and a weak high, meaning that the market is going to push higher. Okay, that's good for us. 15-minute, same thing. Strong low, weak high. Good for us. All right. 5-minute is saying the opposite now, right? Strong high and a weak low, meaning that it's saying that it's expecting this to make a lower low, right? It's expecting this to go down a little bit, right? Maybe break that low and then go higher. That lines up with that zone I just told you that we marked up, okay? So this is saying it's a weak low, meaning that if we were to enter right now, it's probably going to go down a little bit, okay? But the higher time frames are saying we're more likely to go up, which is good for us, right? Meaning that it's probably long-term going to go up and we'll catch the pips to the upside, okay? So using that, the last confirmation that we'll put for this, 7, is we'll put strong low, okay? Now the last actual tool that I like to use, we're going to go to the 15-minute, right? And we are going to draw ourselves what is known as the Fibonacci extension, okay? This is the tool that is going to take everything that we've just done and it's going to put it all together for us, okay? It's going to confirm everything and give us the confirmations that make sense, right? And make sure that everything makes sense. So what we're going to do is, for this situation, there are different ways that it could be drawn, okay? But because of the uncertainty in the market, because of the zone that we're at, and because of, just the overall market in general, I drew it from a bigger perspective. So I drew it from this strong low to the weak high, right? So this is the most prevalent low, the most recent swing low. Oops. This is in phase 3 of Cashflow University. This is pretty advanced information, using the fib and like how to use it the correct way and stuff. But I'll give you guys a quick little rundown here. So this is where we're at on the fib, okay? So what this is telling us is that there's 3 zones, right? Zone number 1, zone number 2, and zone number 3, right? We already broke past zone number 1, right? Meaning it's not going to go up there. We already broke past zone number 2, meaning it's not going to go up there. And we are currently heading on our way to zone 3, okay? Meaning that the market can probably go right around here and then go up. And that just so happens to line up with the circle that I had already previously drawn and established as our point of interest, okay? So what that tells us is, hey, this is good, right? We're looking like we are in a bullish fib and that we have the potential to go up, all right? So if we wanted to isolate it more, you could go to the 5-minute time frame. But the reason why I don't like this is what I did. This is what I'm saying. This is what I did. So we're going to delete the 15-minute fib. We're going to hide the indicator. Right? And we're going to draw our fib from the most recent swing low to the most recent high. All right? Which would be right there. So we drew the bottom right here, dragged it from left to right, bottom to up, and we stopped it right here at this top point, okay? That would be our fib for this 5-minute time frame, okay? The problem with this, though, and this is what I did, because I'm trading at 8:30 a.m., and I'm trying to find an entry fast, that way I can send it to you guys at that time, right? And that's what I ended up doing. So I sent the trade out because we were already near this buying zone, right? We were already getting the doji candles near this 5-minute fib, right? So I figured, all right, cool. We're already there. I'm just going to go ahead and enter. I'm just going to get in now, and we're going to not hope for the best, but we're going to ideally, get our trade and get it going there. So what I did is I entered literally here. I entered high. I didn't even wait for price to get to there. I entered probably here, probably at this candle. Let's just say there. I put my 15 pip stop loss. And we put our 45 pip take profit. Let's go back to the 15 so I can do it. Right? And we lined our take profit up right in between the zones. Right? So right there. Okay. So this was our entry. Right? So the last confirmation that I'm going to put for the setup would be fibs. Right? So overall, since the stochastic was only half a point, this is only half a point. Overall, there is 7.5 points. That means that there is 7.5 confirmations on this trade, right? Since there were 7.5 confirmations, this was a good trade for us to take, right? So I called the trade out, I sent the trade out to you guys, and I entered the trade myself. Okay, so what ended up happening though is, let me zoom into the 5. So we got in there, and we were in. Let me delete this. Okay, so like I said, I did this whole analysis myself, and I leaned towards buying now instead of waiting for here, right? But I knew that there was a chance, though, that we were going to go down lower. But I was hoping that that wasn't going to happen. But I knew that that was a possibility, and I even said that in the trade, I'm pretty sure. Let me see, where did I put it? Yeah, well, let me see where, I said you can enter and wait, but I said that I entered myself already. So you guys can go look back at that if you want, but this is basically the exact setup. So I entered over here. Let's see if we can find, what price did I say I got in at? 7033. Oh, so this is way, oh, so I was over here. Whoops. But it's the same thing. So I was over here when we entered the trade. I was back here. So so I was in the trade for even longer, actually. Yeah, because we did go in the profits for a little bit, and then we ended up coming back down. So same thing though. So what ended up happening is, I'll just play it for you guys. Right, we went into profits, then we came back down, and then we started going lower. So when I started seeing that, okay, well, this is dropping, dude. I knew that we were dropping. I took partials, but I didn't close the trade entirely. So I was still in the trade, but I knew that we were going to be going down. So what I did, is this a responsible thing? No. This is why I didn't tell you guys to do it, right? But what I did say is that we took partials, and that the trade was probably going to be reversing. And for you guys to take partials. But what I did is I took partials, and then I took my stop loss off. Right? Is that bad of me? Yes, it is bad of me to do, right? But I only did that because I knew that we were at a point right now where price is consolidating, we're building pressure. Why? Because of the fear, uncertainty, and doubt in the market, right? Because of the instability in the market, because of the new chairman, and also because this is NFP week, right? Because of the fact that it's NFP week and that there's all these other variables, I knew that the market was going to do a little bit of choppiness, right? But I also knew with my intuition that the market was going to go up. Okay, it had to, right? So what I did is I removed the stop loss. Yes, it's irresponsible of me, but, and this is why you should never do it, right? Is because of the fact that I did that, I wasted 2 days, right? I'm gonna have to go to a higher time frame too to show this. Pretty much. Then we'll bring this part to a close. We'll do a quick little pre-NFP. And then tomorrow we're live. Tomorrow we're live again with NFP again. So this was the next day. Took my stop loss off. Right? And then right around here, the market's going to start consolidating. We're going to build up. And then right around Tuesday or Wednesday afternoon is whenever we started making our highs. I would go to the hour, but if I do the hour, it'd be too much. So I was still just watching it this entire time. Right? And then right around here, I started noticing a little bit, people would call this a different thing. You can call this a W pattern if you wanted to, or I kind of considered it a head and shoulders, an ugly head and shoulders, head, shoulder, you know what I mean? There's the neckline, we broke, retest, right? So I saw it forming, so that gave me additional confidence not to close the trade. You know what I mean? I could have just let it be a loser, but like I said, I knew that we were going to get a big move to the upside, okay? So we held it, okay? And then as soon as we got the break, I started seeing, okay, well, it's happening. And then, let's see. Let me just close it out. Because I don't know how much longer. Leave. Right? So what ended up happening, right? I just didn't know how much longer I was going to do that. So right around here is where we got this big first candle. And then the trade ended up closing. I could have held it for longer, but I honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I got scared. I didn't get scared after we were in profits. I didn't want to risk not closing it and then it just coming back down again. So scared as in I didn't want to wait any longer. So I closed the trade at 45 pips. I could have gotten 70, almost 80, but I just decided it wasn't in my best interest to hold the trade any longer. But for the point of the conversation is look at where the market reversed, right? Look at where we had this circle, right? And if we want to just expand this circle, right there, right in between the trend area. So the trade was right. If I wanted to keep a stop loss and truly adjust it, I would have adjusted it. You could have done a 25 pip stop loss, right? Could have done 25 pip and then targeted 75 pip, take profit. Still would have been a beautiful 3-to-1. It just would have taken much, much, much longer. The problem is that I got in way too early, right? And could we have scalped this choppiness, right? Could we have gotten 20 pips here, 20 pips there, 5 pips here, 10 pips there? Yes, you could, right? But I'm very passive with what I do. You know, I'm not on here, you know what I mean, going crazy on the computer, dude. You know, I do this for my job. I love trading, but I don't love, you know, pulling my fucking hair out trying to scalp 10 pips at a time. You know what I mean? I'm more, you know, set and forget kind of vibe where I believe in the setup. I'm going to take the trade. And usually I'm not one to take off my stop loss or adjust it, but it's just like when you know, you know what I'm saying? Where you have your discretion, you have your own intuition, but I'm not going to tell you guys to do that as a beginner because there's not much, you know what I mean? It's irresponsible for you guys to do that. But I've been trading literally for almost 5 years now, full time. You know what I mean? I do the same setup every single fucking day. Excuse my language, but every single day. So I know it. You know what I'm saying? So I know that if I'm wrong, I'm willing to be wrong. You know what I mean? If I'm, you know, but also if I know that if I'm not wrong, I'm gonna hold the trade, right? And there's the saying that if you're early, being early is the same thing as being wrong. That is true, right? Yes, I got out. I could have closed the trade and just re-entered again. But it's the same analysis is what I'm getting at. You know what I mean? So if I know that the analysis hasn't changed, you know what I'm saying? I hope that what I'm saying makes sense to you guys. You know, where I'm telling you that why I took off the stop loss, right? But I know what I'm doing though, and I knew that I had almost 8 confirmations on the trade, but I also was aware of the market conditions is what I'm getting at. I was aware of the fact that we had been going through turbulent times in the U.S. and outside the U.S. I was aware of the geopolitical tension inside of our own economy and everything else that's going to be happening this week. So I knew that this week was going to be slow and choppy. So I was kind of like mentally prepared for that is what I'm getting at. Tony Spark says, nice, bro. Tony Spark, dude. I don't know who you are, bro. You know, I feel like you're a student, but I also don't know if you're a student. Because I have a few students named Tony. Spelled differently, but yours is Tony. So I don't know if you're Anthony or if you're Tony or what, but I'm glad to have you here, bro. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here again. Tony showed up last week, and I was trying to figure out who he was last week too, but here we are. You know, and if you wanted to take the other additional trades, I sent this trade to a student that was asking me to, you know, just see what we were looking at. This was a very beautiful ascending triangle, right, or a bullish flag, whatever you want to call it. It was a very beautiful trade. You could just do break, retest, and you get that entire move up there. But that was the trade. That was the trade setup. Reason why it took me longer is because, again, I was aware of the previous market conditions, and I was willing to hold the trade, pretty much is what I'm getting at. And if I would have lost it, it was only a 10 pip difference. Usually I risk 15 pips. This was only 25 pips. It was not that big of a difference. So it wasn't like I held it and I'm 200 pips negative. You know what I'm saying? That's where, you know, you might as well just cut the loss, bro. Or, you know, you got to figure out your trading adjustment. You got to adjust it at that point. Do like martingale or something opposite of that. But so this is the one trade I took this week so far. So far, a little bit of a slower week. I've only made like $500 this week trading. I only traded $10 a pip on this one. And I walked away with like 505. So smaller week. But tomorrow is NFP, right? So we can expect. But dude, who's complaining about $500 a week from pressing a button on your phone, dude? You know what I'm saying? Where else can you really do that? You know, yes, is it as much as making $1,000 or $2,000 a week? No, it's not, obviously. Ideally, it's nice to make $300 a day, $400 a day. But you're not always going to get that. You know what I mean? You're not always going to get that. And the people that tell you, hey, man, you need to make this much money every single day, it's just not realistic, bro. You set yourself up for failure, discouragement, and just a whole bunch of bad stuff. You know what I mean? So instead of that, it's just better to take it easy, trade with confidence. You win or you lose. You win or you lose, and that's it. You're chilling. You know what I mean? You can't rely on trading to be your only income stream when you're at phase 1 in your journey. I'm not in phase 1. I make good money. I'm blessed with what I do. But trading is not my only income stream. Cash flow is not my only income stream. I make money doing a bunch of other shit online. And I do a bunch of other stuff that I like to do. And I'm considering making like a side hustle university. Because I would like to say I have like 4, almost 5 income streams from just doing stuff. You know, I sell things online. I sell things in person. I'm starting a copper business. You know what I mean? You guys are first to hear it. I'm starting a copper business. Making copper rings and making tensors and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And I'm going to be going more in depth into that. Whole separate side venture that I'm going to be doing. But point of what I'm getting at is that make your life easier by not, yes, you want to have expectations, right? You want to have trading expectations, not dollar expectations. Do you want to take a trade every day? Yes. If the opportunity is there, right? If you have a good setup, take a trade. 1 trade per day, you're beautiful, you're chilling. You know what I mean? Win, lose, draw. Maybe 2 trades if you lose and you really need to get back in. You take 2 trades, right? Or whatever the case may be, right? But you set your trading plan and you just follow it. You trade the plan. You plan the trade, you trade the plan. You know what I'm saying? And you just do that and you live your life, right? The problem, though, is when you give yourself pressure, it's different saying, I'm going to take 1 trade a day versus I'm going to make $200 a day versus saying I'm going to make $500 a day. I'm going to take 1 trade a day. My risk to reward, I'm going to take 1 3-to-1 risk to reward ratio trade per day. Period. That's it. You know what I mean? And by you doing that, you will make money. But if you're saying, no, I need to make $100 a day, you start fucking up your calculations and you add stress to your trading journey. Some of you guys are starting your trading with $100. How can you possibly expect to make $100 a day with $100? It's not mathematically sound, right? You could do it, right? If you're going to risk your entire account on 2 trades, you could. And that's what some of these fucking people tell you guys to do. Right? Excuse my language again. But that's what people educate on and recommend you guys do, right? And that's just foolish, right? If you have $100, you can trade it aggressively, yes, right? But don't make the expectation to make X amount of dollars per day, right? Inside of Cashflow University, I give you guys the booster pack, though, where I tell you how much you should be able to make per day based off of your account growth and based off of your metrics, right, of your account size, right? And it's depending on your account size and your risk, right? It's not like a cookie cutter thing. It's set up for you and your personal trading plan. If you guys go to the booster pack, right, and you go to the trading journal, right, this tells you exactly how much you should be aiming to make, right? But it's not telling you only in dollars. It's telling you based off of your pips and based off of your risk to reward ratio, how much are you aiming to capture? What are you aiming to make per day based off of your trade, right? You're not trading based off of how much you're aiming to make. You know what I'm saying? And again, I hope that makes sense to you guys, because that's how it's just reverse engineering how you get into trading, right? So when you encounter a situation like I did this week, where you, or this past 2 months, for example, where the market has been very slow, right? And if you pay attention to a lot of the gurus and stuff too, a lot of people are posting slow. You're not posting slow, but they're not posting their trades as much, right? Because the market has been very volatile. It's been very slow. It's been very choppy. You're going up 100 pips, and then you drop 75 pips within 2 seconds. You know what I mean? With no reason as to why, except Trump said something, or something happened, or whatever, XYZ. So in times of this timing, right, it's just what I'm getting at is it's important to use your discretion, right, as a trader, right? And in order for you to build discretion as a trader, you need to be knowledgeable as a trader. And the only way you can trade knowledgeably is if you're trading every day with a good plan, right? But when you trade every day, you're going to notice you're not able to trade every single day. You know what I mean? With safety, right? I can go on the screen right now and, show you guys, hey, this market looks like we made a big, like we can draw a fib right here, bro. Right? Look where we're at. Right? We're right there in the middle of a buy zone. Okay? Right? We just made a new high. Right? We were going like this, right? Low, high, low, high. We made a equal low followed by a higher high, right? And then we could say that's a pattern right there. We could look, let's look at our RSI really quick. RSI is starting to push up. Stochastic isn't. This is on the hour time frame. What I'm getting at, though, is we could just buy. I could just say, all right, guys, we're going to go in and we're going to enter right now for buys. And what's going to happen? It's going to go up or down. You know what I mean? So it's not like the most stressful thing in the world. But, again, I'm just saying you want to trade with peace and with comfort. You guys are already stressed from your jobs. You guys are already stressed from your families. You guys are already stressed from life. You know what I mean? Gas is fucking $5 a gallon here in Florida, basically. You know what I mean? The last thing you want to be stressed about is trading. You know what I mean? Trading is supposed to make your life easier. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be enjoyable for you. And it's supposed to be something that you do in order to give you confidence in your financial future, right? Not your financial today. You know what I'm saying? So don't trade with the goal to make money, because you're going to lose money by trying to make money, right? Instead, just learn to become a good trader and take good trades. And when you take good trades, you'll make money, right? That's my repeating lesson that I say every single time to old students and new students, because it's a recurring obstacle that people struggle with. Some people say, oh no, I need to take a mental break from my trading, bro. You know what I mean? I had a rough last. Why do you need to take a mental break? For what? You know what I mean? I have a lot of students that say this. So I have a lot of students that tell me this all the time. You know what I mean? Or I have a lot of potential students, right? Where that used to trade in the past, waiting to get their mind right. You know what I mean? You only need to take a mental break if you're using the wrong mental perspective. You know what I mean? Your brain gets tired because you're chasing an unrealistic result. You know what I mean? Your brain gets tired because you're expecting stuff that you don't know how to do. You know what I mean? So you get stressed because you can't get that result. And then what happens? You're not making $100 a day. What do you guys do? Most people give themselves 30 days, 60 days to make $100 per day. For example, and as a beginner, and if you don't have that number in 30 to 60 days, I need a break. Trading is hard. Trading isn't for me. But you don't even know how to take a trade on your own. You know what I mean? You don't know how to place a trade. Now, you could place a trade on your own. Anybody could press buy or sell. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that. But you don't know how to analyze this on your own, right? And since you don't know how to analyze it on your own, you get frustrated because you're not making money. Because you're not making money, you quit. You know what I mean? And it's a revolving cycle that can never be broken until you, the trader, break the cycle. The cycle isn't difficulty. It isn't strategy. It isn't anything really except patience. You know what I mean? The patient trader is the one that wins. You know what I mean? The reason why I don't get stressed if I don't have 5 trades a week, or if I'm not making $5,000 or $10,000 a month in withdrawals every single month, is because, again, I'm 27, bro. I'm 27. Some of you guys are 37. Some of you guys are 47. Some of you guys are 57, right? Whatever the case may be, we're just getting started in life. You know, even if I have students that are in their 60s, and I tell them this too. You're just getting started. You know what I mean? Literally like how Gary Vee says it, right? Your first 6 months are learning and growing and applying. But because you're in cash flow, you're blessed, and I'm blessed because God allowed me to build a plan where I have a 45-day roadmap for you to get your first withdrawal in 45 days, right? That is if, though, you're plugging in for 45 days. You know what I mean? And not relying on me, but relying on the education that you have access to, right? And when you learn that education, you make your first withdrawal, and that gives you confidence to do this for the next 5, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, right? I'm going to retire from trading so I don't get stressed when I have a bad week. I don't get stressed when I have a bad day or a bad month, whatever, because we're doing this for the long term. And also, they don't rely on trading, right? You can't rely on trading income, right? Because in trading and investing, it is a wealth growing vehicle, right? Yes, we make money trading. It's awesome when you make money trading, but the goal is to grow your account to $1 million, to $2 million, $10 million, $50 million. That way you don't have to work ever again, right? Anyone that tells you, bro, that you can retire with a $100,000 fucking trading account, that's the stupidest thing in the world, dude. You can never do that, right? I say that, and I have around $50,000 that I trade with, and I make good money doing with what I'm doing with my account size. I make good money, but the point being, though, $100,000 is nothing, right? That's absolutely nothing in the grand scheme of things. You spend $100,000 instantly before you even get it. You know what I mean? If I gave you $100,000 right now, I bet you have an idea of what you could spend it on, and before you know it, you could spend that in a week. You could probably spend that in a day. You know what I mean? And not even know you just fucking spent it, right? So what I'm getting at is, in order for you to make enough money to have a trading account that pays your mortgage, pays your light bill, pays your water bill, pays your fucking, if you want to live holistically, pay, your solar panels and whatever else, pay for your garden, pay for livestock, then you have to pay for your family, you have to pay for your wife, your kids, your husband, whatever it is. You know what I mean? It's a lot of money. Now you have a car. Do you want a nice car? What kind of car do you want? Your wife wants a Mercedes, right? You want a Rolls Royce, whatever it is. How are you going to pay for that? With a $100,000 trading account? It's impossible. You know what I mean? But the only people that say that it's possible are the ones selling you the prop firms, right? The ones and my program's $1,000. I'm transparent with it. You know what I'm saying? It's not that much money, right? But the people that are telling you that dream are the ones charging $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 for their program, or they have a subscription that's $300 a month. You know what I mean? And you don't fucking learn anything. And then what happens is you get discouraged and you quit, right? So to end the TED Talk off, it's that, right? When you have a bad week, or when you get confused, or when you have a slow week, like we had, right? It's part of the process, man. It's part of the process. You know what I mean? You can't ever expect to have a beautiful trading career. No, you will have a beautiful trading career. I mean, like, a perfect one. You know what I mean? It's not always going to be perfect, dude. You're going to have variables. Things are going to be different. Things are going to be changing. This is my first time trading in a war. You know what I mean? Or trading in a national fucking oil crisis. I've never traded in that before. You know what I mean? So I'm in there with you. I'm in there with you. You know what I mean? So you have to be patient with your setups. You have to be smart with your setups, and you have to identify profitable setups, ladies and gentlemen. And be patient. So that's pretty much what I got. I am going to end the call there because I kind of already did it. Right now I'm leaning towards buys on NFP, so heads up for tomorrow morning. I'm leaning towards buys. I'm going to be live tomorrow morning. I'm probably going to be on by 8. Maybe have the stream started by 8:05, 8:10. What time is NFP at? I think it's 8:30. 8:15 or 8:30. Oh, Ollie, you don't know what time it's at. You've been trading for so long. Yes, my friends, don't worry. It is also available for, it's plastered right here. So, you don't always need to remember everything. Let's see. Pretty sure it's 8:15, but let's confirm. Oh, 8:30. All right, so 8:30. So I'm going to be on by 8:15, and then we'll watch it together, and we'll trade it live together. Like I said, I'm leaning towards buys, but as of right now, same exact thing. The market tonight during London session is probably going to go a little bit lower. We're going to start consolidating, and tomorrow morning we're probably going to be trading somewhere around this price, right? And depending, right, I'm going to be expecting some buys, right? So that's my bias. I'm expecting buys for tomorrow morning for a few different reasons. Forecast is only 65K. Sheesh. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll figure it out. I'll do more analysis in the morning. I don't feel like doing it right now, to be real with you. I'm a little sleepy. But, okay. So, to end the call off, that was the one trade we took this week. It was still a beautiful trade. I walked away with 45 pips. All in all, it was like around like $505 is what I was able to make off of that. Hopefully tomorrow, if we take a trade, when we take our trade tomorrow morning, I'm going to aim for like a 4-to-1. I'm going to aim to make at least $400 or $500 minimum. Maybe, hopefully more, depending on what we risk. We got to figure it out. But tomorrow should be a good day. And, whatever it is, if it's not, it's not. You know what I mean? We still have a beautiful day with each other. We're still going to trade with each other. And we're still going to have a beautiful NFP Friday. All right, so before I let you guys go, is there any questions, comments, concerns? Tony Spark, bro. I don't know who you are, my friend. Unfortunately. But, if anyone has any questions, let me know. Take a second and you do your thing. I'm going to let you guys do that really quick. I'm answering. Someone messaged me earlier and asked me to post or to let them know. So I'm seeing if they got on. Whatever. All right, cool. So I mean, that's all I got. Let me see. Of course, guys. Of course. Of course, my friends. Of course, my pupils. I love you guys. I appreciate. Hey, if you guys can, man, do me one favor. So if you guys gain value from this, do me a favor. Take a little flick of me. I'll do sub for you guys, right? Take a little flick of me and shout me out on social media, man. It goes a very long way. This is what I do for a living. You know what I mean? I'm a small business owner. Why isn't it P significant? Tony, you gotta tell me who you are, bro. You gotta tell me who you are, because I can direct you to the cash flow material, and you can go watch that video for yourself. Or you're gonna have to message me, and I can like send you a voice message about it. But because it's a whole bunch of reasons as to why it's significant. That would take me like 5-10 minutes to explain. And basically, it's going over the employment rate for the country. How many people were freshly employed every single month to month versus how many people are not employed, pretty much, to sum it up. So it's talking about unemployment rates is what it's getting at. So if it's high, that's bad. If it's low, it's good. The lower, the better for the dollar, pretty much, is NFP. But either way, bro, I would love for you to connect with me, dude. I don't know if you're a student. But if you are a student, I can answer that question a lot more in depth. If you're not a student yet, become a student, and I can answer that question a lot more in depth, bro. Or if you want to keep the mysterious route, deuces to you, bro. I appreciate it. But either way, guys, yeah, no. If you guys can, shout me out on social media. I'm gonna pose up for a second. Hey, we're in there. All right, so if you guys can, shout me out. It really goes a long way. Like I said, I'm a small business owner. This is what I do. You know what I mean? I've been doing this for 5 years now. You know what I mean? And I love doing it. I want to keep doing it. I want to keep helping you guys. And it goes a long way when you guys shout me out to your friends and familia. You know what I mean? Whether they learn or not, whether they sign up or not, that's up to them. But you can do a good job and at least help them by exposing them to the cash flow system, right? And I'll do my job and make sure that they start making some money, right? But with that, I'm going to take a little picture of myself. That way, we're posed up. Lit. Cool. All right, guys. No, so that's pretty much all I got. I hope you all have an amazing rest of your night. I appreciate you guys coming on here. If you are a Cashflow student, inside the Cashflow Campus app tomorrow morning, I will be live trading NFP with you guys. So yeah, hop on there. I'll see you guys in the morning. And if you're not a student, I will see you guys next week on CashflowTV here on YouTube. Shout me out on social media at Ollie Cashflow, the best trader alive, the nicest trader alive, the humblest trader alive, and the coolest trader alive, right? Hey, let's get it, guys. I appreciate you all. Have an amazing rest of your night. God bless you. Stay abundant. And I'll see you guys at the top because the bottom is way too crowded. Peace.